where the fuck do I even begin? Okay, so here's the thing, folks. I recently finally got back into reading a manga known as World's End Harem, which, yes, does have an anime adaptation, which is heavily fucking censored in the worst goddamn way possible. Here's the thing. World's End Harem is essentially, I cannot believe this is not hentai, although I could actually tell you, it's basically softcore hentai. That's all it is, it's softcore hentai with plot. And the plot itself legitimately is in the same vein as The Last Man on Earth. The Last Man on Earth, not the Vincent Price movie, which, again, amazing fucking movie, and the reason why we have Night of the Living Dead and zombies, it's not that. It is not fucking that. No. Instead, what this is essentially taking the premise from The Last Man on Earth, which of course is, again, why The Last Man on Earth, where every man in the world fucking dies, except for one schmuck, who is now the son of the current sitting Madam President. And of course, there's politics, there's literally more conflicts, there is literally the grab for resources. It's a actual legitimately fun road story when it finally gets to a satisfying ending of the fact of they basically clone the dude. And his clones literally help repopulate the world. And that's it. And legitimately that's a cool little fun sci-fi-ish Twilight Zone-like-ish type deal, or, you know, something along that lines. But World's End Harem takes that premise and decides to make it porn in the dumbest goddamn way possible. Because apparently the world, mind you, apparently after it collapsed, decide, hey, let's give all our sovereignty over to essentially the reformed United Nations called United Women.
Excuse me, what?
And if that wasn't enough, it's trying to get everyone and their mother to basically say, oh yeah, these nations that have nuclear weapons, a chain of command, that if anything happens to the POTUS, if anything happens to the VP, Speaker of the House, all these people, the actual fucking anything happens to these bastards, that the nuclear codes, the actual everything gets passed down through the chain of command until finally it gets to the person that is still alive to actually be essentially the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Everything!
Why? 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 Why, oh God fucking...
You're telling me that these United States, especially the fucking southern part, the red states, the states that literally, as of now, are completely anti-federalist, you're telling me that in a world where men have basically died off because of a virus that, believe me, was fucking stupid, just, if you've read the manga and you've gotten close to basically the almost goddamn ending, chapter 120 goddamn 3, you understand what the fuck I'm talking about, why it's so goddamn stupid. You're telling me that the United States, Russia, China, India, Iran, Iraq, Pakistan, fucking Israel, all the nuclear capable nations, NATO, decide, hey, let's just follow these three dumb bitches who are known as the fucking mature, the elder, and the young, who are essentially fucking crazy-ass fucking feminists who believe that by literally using cloning technology, artificial wombs, they can create a monogendered species that will basically bring world peace?
I couldn't make this shit up. I couldn't make this shit up if I tried. I'm sad that I lack the talent to make this shit up.
Are you fucking goddamn serious? And by the way, big goddamn spoiler for World End Harem, the virus that literally killed all men, yeah, no, that was created by a man, sweethearts. So for all the feminists who are basically reading this thing thinking, ah, we won! Guess what? Your fucking World End virus was created by a goddamn man. So shut the fuck down, you little cunts.
You need to shut the fuck up.
If you couldn't tell, World's End Harem kind of pisses me off on a multitude of fucking levels. Because it's basically softcore porn trying to be fucking deep. Yes, there are some legitimately good philosophical stuff there, but Jesus goddamn Christ. World's End Harem literally is telling you to turn off your brain and accept the fact that the US of A, the place where Japan literally said that behind every blade of grass is an American with a gun, the place that even Russia will admit that we cannot be invaded. Many nations have admitted they cannot fucking invade us because we would give them a hell of a fucking fight. You're telling me, that we gladly joined essentially the feminist United Nations without a goddamn fight? Without a shot being fired? Without nukes being threatened? You're fucking telling me, that these United States would fall to a tyrant, one world government, one whose literal intention is to create genocide and literally unethical goddamn genetic experiments? Is that what you're fucking telling me? You fucking goddamn cunts!
This is stupid! This is stupid! 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 Okay.
I'm okay. I'm okay. With that bit of issues out of the fucking way about World's End Harem, you're probably watching this pitch meeting video and wondering what's come out of that fucking rant. What anything comes out of that rant? Well, ladies and gentlemen, to those who are watching this, understand now, it does present a cool premise and idea I think that fanfiction authors could actually use, especially those of the Fallout fandom, especially from the more popular and very much so recommended now, permanent on your fucking mod list America Rising 2, the Enclave story. And it's got a really cool premise and something I want to present to you that legitimately is kind of cool, and something that could actually basically take World's End Harem and actually make it something decent. Instead of whatever the ever-loving fuck we got out of the fucking manga. Cause, dear sweet Jesus Christ, you know my grievances with the fucking manga. You do. So let's just go ahead and talk about it, shall we? So before we get into it, we will take elements from the manga itself and kind of use it for this story idea. One that legitimately I think you can kind of agree with, that an idea of a virus, be it biologically made or natural, killing off a good portion of men in the world, leaving the only immune few, legitimately is kind of a cool concept, especially the fact of apparently this world had advanced enough to where cryogenics was actually a legitimate feasible thing, and is actually not going to kill you. And you don't need to be dead to be cryogenically frozen, which is kind of fucked up nowadays, considering, well, yeah. Anyway, so essentially, the world begins with the fact of a very few do know that a virus is coming. This secret cabal who, again, be it natural otherwise, who may have released the virus, now knows, of course, that the virus is coming, or at least this enclave of sorts knows about it. And as such, to ensure the safety of America and, of course, the free world and NATO, military officials go on ice. Those who are confirmed to be immune to the virus, while those who are unfrozen continue their work in secret, making sure that there are bunkers, supply depots, weapon caches, ammo stashes, everything is set in place for the inevitable return of the military leadership of this American enclave, who returns, of course, after the virus has done ravaged the world. And when they do return, they return to shock and horror, as the United States has fallen to a one-world government. The nation of the land, the home of the free, and the brave has fallen. The Madam President is nothing more than a puppet for this one-world government, and the military leadership that has basically returned cannot let this stand. As such, the men, who of course do donate their seed, you know, to sperm banks and stuff like that, do in fact begin a campaign. At first, a political campaign, basically stating the fact that the United States was in fact the leader of the free world, is in fact the reason the United Nations was a thing, is in fact the reason why the United Women is a thing. The fact that NATO back in the day, we were the supplier of NATO, a good chunk of it. Goddamn 85% motherfuckers! Or that number may have changed. Probably. But he's away. Essentially, ladies and gentlemen, the military leadership, this Enclave, has returned to reclaim America, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
One Enclave, one America, now and forever. But only together. Together can we hope to reach our full potential, the way we were before the war, whole, beautiful, powerful. So, as your president, I am the voice, I am the heart and soul of the Enclave. That is to say, I am the voice, heart, and soul of America. And well, yes, the Enclave is me as well. As your president, it is my responsibility to preside over our great democracy. Just who is the Enclave? Why, now that's simple. The Enclave is you, America. The Enclave is your sister, your aunt, your friend, your neighbor. Let's talk about government, shall we? Or more specifically, your government, dear America.
Of course, the United Women are not exactly happy about this. The three leadership of this cabal are not exactly happy at the fact that the military leader, more than a few men who went under, are military men. Not politicians. Military. And they're not liking the fact that the military, or at least a good chunk of their now peacekeeping forces, who are American, are swayed by the patriotic fervor that is being spewed, much like Ronald Reagan during the 1980s, bringing back American exceptionalism and Reaganomics. You get what I'm saying, basically. Here comes the next wave of patriotic fervor and patriotism into the United States and its colonies, or not really colonies, but territories. As such, the stars and stripes wave high among the flagpoles. The United Women's flags are removed from the states, as of course now the general who was frozen is now announcing the fact that he will bring back glory to these United States as he announces his presidential campaign. However, the current puppet-in-chief, or chiefess, isn't exactly happy about this, as is her masters. As such, a daring plot and plan is created to try and take down this upstart and prevent their control over the states. Well, this goes about as well as you think, considering that the military has planned for this. During the pre-apocalyptic days before the plague hits, the MK virus, the man-killer virus hits, they had planned outcomes, they had subplots, they had plots, they essentially had protocol and backup plans to prepare themselves to essentially paint any sort of post-virus government as a subversive, anti-American, traitorous, tyrannical government that has essentially broken every single federal law of the U.S., that has essentially turned its back on the people of the United States, these United States, and paint themselves as heroes. Much like George Washington in the Continental Army, much like Lincoln with the Union Army, much like Teddy Roosevelt as he led his Rough Riders up San Juan Hill, much like every single major American victory in the past, they shall paint themselves as heroes and patriots. Because that is what they plan to do. They are, after all, the true enclave of American might and justice and truth and the American way. Yes, I said American way twice, but you get what I'm saying. As such, when the assassination plot is carried out by the United Women's organization, it fails spectacularly and backfires. Because now the military has all the justification to basically disillusion themselves, as well as state that the sitting president-in-chief, or at least the Madam President, is a traitor to the United States, and as such begins their march on Washington. However, there are those of the United Women's Forces who are loyal to the organization, who have been basically brainwashed into believing what they want. They drank the Kool-Aid. And basically creates what is essentially a second American Civil War. Or in this case, a war between the actual legitimate U.S. military and those who actually have legitimate claims to the United States government and White House, and those who are basically of the one world government. Now, this war is costly, and one that actually legitimately will cost the UW a lot of operations. Because once this happens, other nations around the world actually do vocalize their support for the true, in their eyes, mind you, because, you know, they want to actually be on America's good side, actual, true, legitimate government claimers. Those who have legitimate claims to the government, and those who agree with the U.S. Of all people, and the irony of ironies, these nations include Russia, China, and even, of all people, North Korea. Many nations who were once America's enemies are actually standing up with America, or at least these legitimate claimers. Now, don't get me wrong, the Enclave do not trust these people whatsoever. But any support they can give, especially starting multiple wars on multiple fronts, could actually help them in the long run. Especially considering that, again, the UW has very little control on these certain areas, considering their political past. And when men basically died off, leaving the few immune in these nations who are basically heavily fucking guarded under military lock and key, they don't want them to do anything else. They are going to fight. As such, with the threat of nuclear annihilation, the UW is essentially got their hands tied. They cannot do a damn thing. Because if they do, Russia has threatened to use nuclear weapons. China has threatened to use nuclear weapons. India has threatened to use nuclear weapons. Iran has threatened to use nuclear weapons. Israel has threatened to use nuclear weapons. Basically, every single major nuclear power on the planet that has basically finally gotten a spine and shown, yeah, no, this one world government organization is basically the successor to the UN, they're not as powerful as they seem, as they're getting their asses kicked in the US by the good old-fashioned US of A might, guns, patriotism, and goddamn justice, brought by, of course, United States military prowess and might. As such, they launched their own campaigns. Not just, of course, in their own nations against UW outposts and bases, basically causing them to have to spread their forces much thinner, but even, of course, when they attempt, once again, taking plot from, of course, the World's End Harem, their own elements in Japan. Japan, of course, now falling into its own civil war, as, again, thanks to the Enclave, a successor to the actual imperial house has been found within, of course, the country, who was hidden away. As such, actually laying claim to, of course, being the Emperor or Empress of Japan, rallying her own forces to basically bring back the Japanese Empire, in her own right, of course. Basically a constitutional monarchy, but thanks to, of course, the disillusionment of the United Women's Government, and, of course, the virus and all, a legitimate strong figurehead must be made. As such, Japan now falls into its own civil war, between, of course, the UW-backed government and now the backed monarchist by, of course, the Americans, the Russians, the Chinese, basically the good guys in this timeline, which Russia and China and America working together. We haven't seen that since World War II. Oh, wait. How the story ends and pans out is completely up to whoever writes it. But essentially, I've just created a political military thriller where the world that believed itself to be at peace, that believed itself to know what it wanted, is now plunged into a global conflict against those who believe in their own national identities, and of course want to be able to have babies in their own right, and actually want their men to live happy and all that good jazz, and American exceptionalism, patriotism, nationalism, all that good jazz, against a one-world feminist government who essentially just wants to wipe out all men and turn themselves into the Asari. And with that presented, I say to you, motherfuckers, that's how you make a story like this work! That's how you make a story like this actually mean something. This is how you actually make a story mean a fucking thing. That's how you make an exciting thing. That's how you do something. That is how you do a story about a planet where there are no longer a lot of men versus a lot of women and a virus and a post-viral outbreak world. Was that so fucking hard? Was it? Was it? Was it, you motherfucker? Sorry about that. What I'm trying to say, folks, is if you like this idea and you want to take it and roll with it, go ahead. I presented this idea because no one has actually thought about this. No one has actually looked at this. No one has actually thought, hey, maybe a post-viral world with political thriller and actual military intrigue would be a lot more interesting than softcore fucking porn with anti-feminist or pro-feminist fucking views. Instead, I've made my point. I've made my point fucking clear. I have done and gone what I've done. Take this idea, and for the love of God, to the fanfiction authors out there, take the fucking idea and please, please make it into something. For the love of Christ, make it into something. Because for the love of God, I am sick and fucking tired of people saying that World Harem actually has a really interesting story. It's got a cool setup. It's got a cool concept. But the fucking payoff is so batshit insane, so fucking stupid and predictable by anime standards that by fucking God, just make it into goddamn hentai! Make it porn by this point, for God's sake! Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Airsoft Down. If you want to help me out and help out my own mental state, please consider checking out the links down below. And yes, the blank review, the flashbang review is coming. It's coming. As well as everything else. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go and calm down with a nice session of Fallout New Vegas. Thank you all for watching. As always, I've been Airsoft Al. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think about World's End Harem and why it makes no goddamn sense why the U.S. would fall to a one-world government. Or at least a good portion of the U.S. would not fall to a one-world government. And who do you think would actually be a lot better? A crazy, radical, absolute batshit insane cult-like leadership led by 3 old bags who need to get laid, who believe that actually being the Asari is a better option to actually being human, or the American Enclave? Let me know in the comment section down below. Till next time. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go find Benny and put a bullet in that son of a bitch. Come here, you little cocksucker, you're gonna die!